Nvidia shares pulling back today. The AI market darling falling further from that record high that it reached not too long ago. Our next guest, though, isn't worried about the bumpy path that we have seen for Nvidia over the last several weeks. He's got a buy rating on the stock, the highest price target on the street. We want to bring in Hans Mosesmann. He is Rosenblatt Securities, a senior research analyst. It's great to have you here. So when you take a look at what has been certainly a volatile couple of weeks for Nvidia, some of that sell side pressure on the stock, why isn't that worrisome to you?
Well, we're entering new territory for Nvidia. The valuation really out of thin air almost over the past year. The move has been such that it has people kind of worried, like, how's that even possible? And it requires you to have an understanding of what's going on with AI and their leadership position. So it could be a little bumpy, but from a secular perspective, for the next 10 years, this is going to be the way to play AI. They're at another level. And I think people have to just get used to that. And they're not a semiconductor company anymore. They're a platform. They're all things AI.
And Hans, I'm assuming if you're bullish on Nvidia too, Hans, you must be also then bullish on just the bigger mega trend of AI that you must think, yes, it is this paradigm shift. And yes, Jensen Huang is right when he talks about, how the next industrial revolution has begun, Hans.
Yeah, that's right. So there are a couple of moving parts. And so the cloud, which is where most of Nvidia's business is not going to be the home of all things AI. As time goes on, more AI gets done, not up there in the cloud, but in the mid-edge, the far edge. And it opens up the door for more efficient solutions in terms of platform, hardware, and even software. So there are other players that will benefit from that transition, such as AMD, such as ARM, a little company called Lattice that we cover. So there's other participants, but in terms of the value capture of AI, NVIDIA may lose unit market share, but they may actually gain value because they're monetizing the entire stack. That's the entire rack, the entire software that goes around that. So it's a formidable model that I think people have yet to kind of fully grasp.
At a time when many investors are concerned about their NVIDIA shares and what's coming next for the company, Rosenblatt Securities senior research analyst Hans Mosesmann did an interview with Yahoo Finance to explain why he's not at all worried about the stock's bumpy previous weeks. Not only did the analyst reaffirm his bullish stance on Nvidia stock, but he also talked about why Nvidia stock is the best way to play AI for the next decade. So, if you're an investor who really believes in the AI story, you wouldn't want to miss out on today's video. We're going to talk about Mosesmann's opinion on Nvidia stock, as well as whether investors should be buying the current dip or not. But first, if you want to keep up with Nvidia's latest updates and keep up with the stock market's latest news, you can follow our Twitter account. We post multiple times daily about the biggest changes and catalysts in the market, so click the follow button if you don't want to miss the newest market updates. Now, back to today's video.
Performance per watt, per cubic foot, per dollar advantages that nobody can meet, right? It's not like there's another guy that can do it. Maybe AMD captures some share here, but it's a little different. But yes, it's something to monitor. In France is something that kind of raises eyebrows and so on. But at the moment, I don't think it's going to lead to anything because they're being fair in terms of how they price their products, in my opinion.
When it comes to Nvidia stock, Mosesmann has a long-term view. The analyst thinks that the current sale pressure on Nvidia is negligible when one considers that Nvidia is going to be the best way to play AI for the next 10 years. He has a price target of $200 on the stock, and he also sees Nvidia's Hopper, Blackwell, and Rubin series driving value market share in one of Silicon Valley's most successful silicon or platform product cycles. He adds that the real story for Nvidia is in the software that improves the hardware capabilities, saying that he expects the software aspect to significantly increase in the overall sales mix over the next decade, positively impacting the company's valuation due to its sustainability. And that's why he projects Nvidia to achieve $5 in EPS or more by 2026. Based on this, and Nvidia's existing 40x price-to-earnings multiple for valuation, the analyst has raised his price target on the stock. But does that mean that Nvidia stock is a buy right now? Especially amid concerns of the AI boom being an AI bubble? Let's find out. Hello, everyone. and welcome back to Investocracy.
And even AMD, if AMD didn't have a GPU, for example, they'd be in big trouble. So they are changing the way compute is done. And so the next wave of value capture for NVIDIA, if you look at, say, the cloud, for example, are networking areas, storage areas. And so you start to kind of bring in those areas in terms of value, and you maximize the interface between networking and storage with the computer, the accelerated compute. So I think that the traditional networking players and storage players probably have to deal with this. There are ways to get around that. For example, Broadcom and Marvell, which are big players in networking, they have the ability to do custom chips. And so some of the hyperscalers don't want to use NVIDIA all the time. They want to do their own custom, highly efficient, very expensive accelerators. And so there's another kind of theme that is counter to that. But it is interesting how, if you look at NVIDIA's roadmap, how they expect to capture not just the GPU, the compute, but the entire rack and everything that goes inside a rack and a data center.
Most investors would be happy with a stock that doubled in 5 years, and they'd likely be over the moon about a stock that tripled during the same period. Nvidia has soared more than 30 times over the last 5 years, so it's no surprise that investors got really excited about the stock. Some investors expected Nvidia's remarkable momentum to accelerate after the company's 10-for-1 stock split, and it did for a few days. However, shares have since fallen and are now down close to 8% from their high. This dip is leading many investors to wonder about if now is the time to buy more shares, or if this is the beginning of a big slide. The thing is, no one ever knows for sure when a stock declines if it's the beginning of a major extended downturn, or only a short, temporary dip. But with Nvidia, there hasn't been any bad news for Nvidia to cause its share price to fall. Quite the contrary, as many analysts have raised their price targets for the stock even after it started pulling back. So, investors are probably still taking profits, and we think that if Nvidia's upcoming earnings report in August turns out to be great, the stock could end up soaring once more, and that's why what's happening with Nvidia stock right now seems to be only temporary. If you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
5,500 number, but it doesn't necessarily reflect how you think the year is going to end. Are you going to take a look at your year-end targets now?
We are, Carl. At the early December last year, we thought S&P could reach 5,200 this year, which at the time was almost a 20% gain. We've obviously moved well above it, and the fundamental picture to me looks stronger. I think earnings next year, we originally thought would be 260 for 2025. It's probably closer to 275. I think the war on inflation has been meaningfully better in terms of progress. I know there was a lot of dispute, but I think the last two inflation reports and the fact that 55% of inflation components are back to pre-pandemic levels means inflation is really going to fall like a rock. These are factors that give us comfort that multiples can expand, and so I think 5,200 is clearly too low, but I don't know how much above 5,500 there is into year end. So I think in a couple weeks we'll be addressing that.
Some might say that Nvidia stock is too overvalued right now, but there's no reason to be more concerned about the company's valuation now than there was before its stock split. Let's keep in mind that Nvidia will launch its new Blackwell GPUs very soon, and CEO Jensen Huang recently said that they will be the most successful product in the company's history. He might be proven right, as Blackwell can run large language models at up to 25 times less cost and energy consumption than Nvidia's flagship Hopper GPUs. This is critical because energy costs for running these AI models can be significant. In fact, according to experts, generating one image using AI can use almost as much energy as charging a smartphone. While we don't know how much Nvidia will sell its Blackwell chips for, we know from Jensen that one GPU will cost between $30,000 to $40,000, which isn't too different from the Hopper prices, and this is likely because Nvidia wants to maintain customers by keeping the price ranges the same, which will be great for sales. Also, if Nvidia's customers choose to buy full racks or servers, they'll definitely be spending a lot more money, increasing the company's profitability and revenues. So, if you're an aggressive growth investor, then you shouldn't turn away from Nvidia. Traders will freak out at any short-term move from the stock, but long-term investors should know that there are no signs that the AI boom is waning, and Nvidia continues to dominate the AI chip space and will likely do so for a very long time. But what do you think about Nvidia stock? Is it a buy at the current price? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. And don't forget to tell us what your valuation for Nvidia is. If you would like to know what companies like Nvidia have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.